What's up, miniature painters? I want to try something a little different this week, where I focus on one key aspect of this miniature before releasing the full tutorial in a few days. I feel that the eyes and dripping ooze on this white polypus thing are the standout features that should be painted in an interesting way. I want to highlight these features using basic techniques and standard acrylic paints that can be used in any paint scheme regardless of how the rest of the miniature is painted. Welcome to Trehane Miniatures. Before painting the eyes, I painted the white polypus thing utilizing a very heavy oil sludge wash to provide contrast to the piece, which is very evident in all of the deep recesses over the body. I think that utilizing a specialty technique like an oil wash in a miniature painting video always runs the risk of alienating some viewers. My hope is that painters of any level will get some useful tips here, even if the oil wash would have otherwise put them off. I want these luminescent green eyes to appear very bright when they're all done, so I begin with a base coat of bold titanium white by Monument Hobbies. Really, any matte white or white ink will work. I recommend painting this brightest feature as the very last step in the paint job. It was necessary for me to do this last to avoid any mess made by the oil wash. This has one downside in that I need to be very careful with the application of this white paint layer so that it doesn't mar any of the surrounding areas that are already completely finished. After all of the eyes have a nice coat of white on them, I'm going to take a few seconds to scratch in some bright spots on the dripping ooze that's emanating from below the eyes. I'm going to use a different progression of colors on the ooze so that it will not be quite as bright as the eyes when it's all done. Now I paint all of the white areas with Orc Skin Speed Paint. For the ooze, I'm applying this green speed paint well above the white highlighted area. This will create a more gentle transition to the colors found on the rest of the body. I can also achieve this look by thinning down any dark green acrylic paint such as Army Paint or Green Skin. We aren't really using the speed paint for its speed paint properties, but more as a dark green tint that will work as a starting layer for the subsequent effects. For the eyes, I want to cover them in their entirety without any staining or pooling on the smooth central surface of the eye. Any pooling that occurs in the recesses surrounding the eyeball is fine. I'm going back to the titanium white for some smaller highlights within the green areas. I have this thinned a little with water this time because I want good coverage with it, but I don't need it to be completely opaque. I'm drawing some good sized white circles in the eyes, but I'm leaving some green visible all the way around these circles. On the oozing goo, I'm drawing some white highlights within the boundaries of the existing highlights, which are still visible beneath the green speed paint. Now we start building the glow. I'm using Daler Rowney fluorescent green ink to glaze the eyes green. Any brand of fluorescent ink or acrylic paint is going to be much more translucent than standard colors, so thinning probably isn't necessary no matter what brand is chosen. Use your own discretion here. From here on out, the eyes and ooze are painted differently, so only the eyes get painted with fluorescent colors. The seeping discharge gets a coat of Army Painter Jungle Green. I typically enjoy using Army Painter colors, but this Jungle Green is truly the worst excuse for paint I've ever seen in my life. Even calling it paint is a stretch. It is absolutely incapable of achieving any reasonable level of opacity no matter how many coats get applied. I'm using this lack of opacity as a strength in this situation to paint it as the final highlight over the white bits of goop. I take this all the way up to the top of each dribble to blend it towards the body colors. I'm painting this on at full thickness with no thinning, which still allows the white to brightly show through. It's an absolute cakewalk from here. I'm using titanium white to paint an even smaller bright circle within the bright green area. I'm going for a smooth, even layer, but once again, complete opacity isn't necessary with these white highlights. I take the green glow up a notch with some fluorescent yellow ink. An interesting observation about fluorescent yellow paints is that it actually has a slight green tint to it. I noticed this when photographing the flames that I painted on Rasputin. I was kind of mortified at first, but ultimately this is a fantasy world we're building here, so anything goes. Or maybe he's just burning barium. With this information, I'm able to use this fluorescent yellow to highlight the green without the risk of turning the eyes yellow. Finally, I'm going to add a little titanium white dot within this yellow to give each eye one ultimate bright point. The white is still thinned with water so that it blends smoothly with the surrounding colors. And that wraps up the eyes and ooze on the White Polypus thing for the Cthulhu Death May Die board game. I will have the full tutorial for this creature up shortly. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to join our growing community of painters.